The Moto Edge was already a secret star last year, with lots of flagship level features at a much more affordable price tag. I even called it OnePlus 8 killer. This year, Motorola aims to take that even further with the Edge 20 that claims to offer even more at an even more affordable price tag. But is it really that good, or is it too good to be true? Despite keeping the Edge name, the phone actually doesn't have any curved glass anymore, neither on the front nor on the back. It's overall a very boxy shape that is similar to a thinner iPhone 12 Pro. Because of this boxy design, it's actually reasonably easy to hold on to. I already mentioned the thinness of the phone, and Motorola claims it to be one of the thinnest 5G phones around at under 7mm. But that also means that the camera bump is really big and makes it basically impossible to use the phone when it's lying on a surface. You can counteract that with the included case though. Apart from that plastic case, there's almost no plastic in the box by the way, which is a nice touch. Speaking of plastic, the back of the phone is not made from glass, but due to the metal frame it still feels rather premium. This also means that it feels exceptionally light for a phone of this size, but smudges super easily. The vibration motor on the Edge 20 is still not great. That is something that I've already criticized last year. And while it is a little bit better, it still makes the phone feel cheaper than it is. It also doesn't have stereo speakers, which is a bit of a bummer, especially because the mono speaker on the bottom can be blocked so easily. Water resistance is also limited, with no IP67 or IP68 level certification. What you do have is a dedicated Google Assistant key on the left, but that one is a bit hard to get to. The display of the phone is rather nice. It's a 6.7-inch Full HD panel with a hole punch at the top. The bezels all around are on the larger side though. It's an OLED, so the colors and black levels are really good, and it gets plenty bright at up to 1000 nits outdoors. It's also HDR10 Plus capable. Most importantly though, it has a refresh rate of 144Hz, which makes the phone feel super smooth no matter what you do. You can either set the refresh rate to be adaptive to save battery or lock it at 144Hz all the time. I would of course recommend the latter, as it just contributes so much to the experience. This phone is the little brother of the Edge 20 Pro, and one of the two most important differences is the chip. The Edge 20 has the Snapdragon 778G instead of a more high-end 800 series chip. But from my experience, that really isn't an issue. The phone feels really smooth and handles navigating through the US without any hiccups or noticeable delays. Where you do notice the slower chip is in the camera processing though. It takes a bit longer, and the live feed in the viewfinder is also noticeably lower quality than the final result. What I noticed as well is that the 5 GHz Wi-Fi reception really doesn't seem to be that good, as it sometimes had quite a poor connection when other devices were just fine. I also had some problems with it not grabbing onto LTE or 5G after leaving my home Wi-Fi. The fingerprint sensor on the side is fast enough, but not unbelievably so. There are definitely better ones out there. This phone basically runs stock Android 11 with Motorola promising 2 years of software updates. I really like their approach to Android, as they only add some useful tweaks while keeping most of the interface as Google imagined it. This is for example even closer to stock Android than Oxygen OS. The only big addition is the Moto app that allows you to set up the standard smart gestures you know from Motorola phones, like chopping to turn on the flashlight or twisting to launch the camera. I also really like the function to flip the phone over to silence calls and notifications. What I don't like is that the ambient display option can still not be switched to be always on. The standard stuff like changing the interface colors and so on is also supported. What I couldn't test is Moto's new Ready For feature that gives you a desktop interface on mirrorcast capable displays, because I don't have one of those. So you will have to wait for my upcoming review of the Edge 20 Pro, which also supports this feature through USB-C. Get subscribed so you don't miss that. The camera on the regular Edge 20 is basically the same as on the bigger brother. The only difference is that that one has a 5x periscope zoom, but I find the 3x you get here is the sweet spot anyway. The main sensor is a 108 megapixel affair with pixel binning, and you also get a 16 megapixel wide angle. The main sensor is quite capable and takes really good pictures, especially considering the price. That said, fortunately it's really hard these days to find a phone at 500 euros that takes bad pictures in good light. The ultra-wide camera is also quite good, but does have a noticeably different color profile from the main one. It's definitely not as good as on the OnePlus 9, but that is also to be expected as that one is the best ultra-wide camera on the market. The night mode is okay, but not on flagship level. So if you take a lot of photos in bad lighting, you can definitely get better options, even at this price. The zoom camera is also quite nice with good sharpness and color reproduction. The zoom is usually an area where most phones fall short, but I actually found this one to be rather capable. The selfie camera is great, with good and sharp portraits even in challenging lighting. So if you take a lot of selfies, this is definitely worth a look, especially over a OnePlus phone with their poor selfie cameras. The video recording capabilities of the Edge 20 aren't really that great though. It can only record 4K on the main camera and only at 30 FPS. The footage is also rather soft. The overall story with the camera is that while standard pictures look really good, other modes like video or night mode seem to be a bit of an afterthought. Battery life on the Edge 20 is just fine, but actually not as bad as I expected given the thin design. Somehow they did actually manage to cram a 4000 mAh battery in here. 5 hours of screen on time is the maximum you can get out of it though. With my normal usage, this gets closer to 4. That means that a long day will have you charge the phone before the day is over. That is something that you have to be aware of. It's okay, but not a no-brainer battery. That said, that makes it very similar to OnePlus 9, which isn't any better. Charging speed is fine at 30 watts, which isn't slow, but also nothing groundbreaking these days. At least the charger is included in the box. Wireless charging is unfortunately absent, but at this price that's also not really a big deal. For $499, I'm actually quite a fan of the Edge 20. It's 100 euros cheaper than its predecessor while ditching the curved screen and making some good upgrades to the camera. At least if you don't record a lot of video or take pictures at night. The slower chip is something you probably won't notice, but for saving 200 euros versus a OnePlus 9 for example, you do lose creature comforts like stereo speakers, wireless charging, a glass back, a better vibration motor, and so on. If all of these small things don't really matter to you, what you get here is a phone that in some ways gets you on the same level as most 700 euro devices for a lot less. For that, I think it's a really good option at this price. You just have to be aware that a lot of things that maybe aren't obvious at first sight have been cut to reach this price point. But I do have some homework to do for Motorola. Please make that vibration motor better in the next iteration, and please fix those connectivity issues. Because while they aren't a deal breaker, they are definitely annoying. If you enjoyed this video, you know which buttons to press, and don't forget to press that follow button on Twitter. I'm Brian, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.